along with many backbench MPs, we're calling for a body called Pump Watch. We want a body like Ofgem, Ofcom, that actually...
A government regulator.
Yeah, it goes against every part of my body. I'm a one nation Tory at heart, and I don't...
You're a pretty free market guy.
Yeah.
I know from talking to you over the years, and yet you want a new regulator that makes sure that the prices that we're charged for our petrol and diesel on the forecourt are a realistic reflection of where energy prices are, where oil prices are, rather than the energy companies pushing prices up when oil goes up, but they're not pushing prices down when oil goes down.
You've hit the nail on the head, Liam. We want them to be transparent and honest. We want them to make a decent profit. I think there should be a two-stage process with Pump Watch, this regulatory body. We can start off voluntarily. It'd be nice to, when trucks drive past garages, there's a kite mark. We adhere to fair pricing at the pumps, and we recognise...
And then if people don't voluntarily comply, then you turn the screw if you have to.
Yes, it's the same with a windfall tax. I'm very anti punishing success. Why should that happen? But this success has come out of a lucky oil price rise. They've been fortunate, and it's a huge. And I think a one-off windfall tax is long overdue.
Let's drill down to that, because you were on my live show On the Money the other day, and I kind of mischievously asked you directly, so Howard Cox, free marketeer, you want a windfall tax. You agree with this flagship Labour front bench policy. How's it come to this?
It's come to this simply because something like I get 2,000 emails a week from drivers saying they can't take much more of this. And I believe, provided this windfall tax doesn't go back, it's got to be hypothecated and put back into solving the cost of living.
So the money is ring-fenced in order to lower fuel bills. We're taxing the oil and gas companies that drill and mine the energy in a one-off way, and that money goes directly towards helping cash-strapped households with their fuel bills, with their utility bills.
Especially low-income families who are suffering incredibly. People who have to use their car, they can't afford an electric vehicle. They've got probably the older vehicles, which are probably Euro 4, Euro 5 vehicles.
So they use more fuel.
Exactly, and they're probably giving out more emissions. But they're not being incentivised to move to cleaner fuels. What they're doing is being punished at the pumps and punished with taxes and punished with energy bills. One of the things we could do is cut VAT, which I know you've been banging on about, Liam, and I support you totally on that sort of thing. But the problem with reducing VAT doesn't help small businesses, because they can actually claim the VAT back anyway. So it's not much of a benefit. But for the hard-pressed motorist, the person who has to go to work or go to a hospital or go to school, medical, a college or something like that, cutting VAT would be a good thing. But let's get rid of the green taxes now. We've no need to have this now. Let's focus on the cost of living.
Of course, the government's opposed the windfall tax, but in recent weeks, even Rishi Sunak, who's been the main opponent to a windfall tax, has started to signal that he may change his mind. What do you think he's up to?
It's interesting. I've spoken to a lot of backbench MPs, particularly Tory MPs, and the flavour that they're hearing from number 11 seems like they might be looking at it.
Yeah, but I've heard the same.
The important thing about a windfall tax, it's got to be structured in such a way so it doesn't ruin the oil companies' investment plans. They've got to keep the energy secure and supplied in terms of guaranteed of supply. If they do that, I think they get a lot of support. We only need a one-off windfall tax. We don't have to do this on a regular basis. The important thing is to incentivise oil companies to invest, but also make sure that they stop this fleecing of their customers, i.e. drivers.
You are instinctively a Conservative, Howard. I think that's fair to say, and yet you are pretty critical of this government. When you look at a lot of the policies they're putting forward, particularly the net zero policies, do they strike you as Conservative policies? Do you think they should be scrapped completely? Do you think they should be slowed down? Or do you think that the government's got them roughly right?
They have no way they've got this right. Net zero is actually a fashion. It's become a cult approach by this government. This is the most unconservative government I've ever met, or been party to over the years. In 2019, just before the election, I actually wrote an article for The Sun which answering the question, which party is the best friend of drivers? And I said the Tories, obviously. I went through this whole process. It went down well. I regret writing that article. They are not the friend of drivers. We've got so many punitive policies hitting drivers right across the country, and local authorities following the various leads. And unfortunately, we've got ultra-low emission zones, low traffic networks, we've got congestion charges, we're still the highest tax drivers in the world despite that 5p cut in the spring statement. And fundamentally, it's about time the 37 million UK drivers got some support here. And that's one of the reason why FairFuel UK is going to continue to campaign. I do have a lot of backbench support for FairFuel UK's approach. And I know Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak are very aware of my campaigning efforts.
Because, of course, for many people who live outside the cities, even if they live in towns or even small cities, public transport just isn't there. They need their car to make a living.
Absolutely right. And there's the little matter of it's a freedom of choice. Why should we be forced into various approaches? Now, obviously, I've come up to this interview today by train. It's brilliant. I love it. I came across by underground. It worked wonderfully well. Not a problem.
But we're in central London.
It's easy. But your point is valid. Where I come from in the country, after about 8 o'clock, there's no more buses. My daughter can't go to a nightclub that's 10 miles away. Good old taxi mum and dad has to go and pick her up. Those are the sorts of things we've got out there. And people need their car to go to various places, especially you're looking at people going to hospitals, for example. So many people with diabetes, so having insulin and dialysis and that sort of thing that write into me saying they cannot go on the bus. They have to keep clean and sterile and all the things they have to do to get to these places. And they're being told to get on a bicycle and get onto a cycle lane. We don't have cycle lanes in the countryside. We have narrow lanes and we have bus stops